Hi, everybody.
Hello, we're back.
We're just live on Facebook this week. It's all different.
It's all a little different because it didn't go so well with the other technology we were trying.
No, so
we like this.
But we still can't see if you're here or not. I thought this was going to be the end.
Oh, ha!
Hello.
Laura, how are you doing? And Laura, we were thinking about you today, and Diana and Melanie.
All our friends.
All the peeps are here. Carol, Cindy.
Oh, see that we don't have to wait for them to comment now. We can just see that they're here. We just
excellent.
Oh, it's like stalking.
It is. It's like we're stalking all of you at once.
We can see you.
You may wake up and you'll find us like squatting on the end of your bed, looking at you fondly, but not in a creepy way.
No, just like this.
Oh, it's good to see you guys.
Oh, hello, all the peoples, everyone from where you are. This is how my standards of you there in your houses, in those places.
Those places.
You know the ones. Your house.
Uta is here, and Carol and Trisha. Yay! And Sharon and Miriam, Nancy and Mary Thomas and Marianne. Lots of Marys came in. Hi, Alexa.
Are you always in Hawaii?
Owen. Hi, Owen. Donna and Regina and Sarah.
Hi, Ann Woods.
Spider Ann does whatever a Spider Ann can. My haircut is starting to look like the little Dutch boy.
Dude,
on a really bad
Geordie
day.
is here from Melbourne.
Geordie here from Melbourne. Forget my hair. Forget it. Forget that it ever existed. I wish I could.
Representing. It just said
the gathering room has turned into just me looking at my hair.
She can see herself bigger now than she used to be able to. So it's like, it's distracting her.
Yeah, it is. I think we should start. We have no way of knowing how many people are here, but let's just start.
Oh, wait, that can't be true. I thought we would have that. Oh, we do. 141.
We're here. All right.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
In your houses. Enjoy those houses. I'm going to go away.
At least one person we know is in a yurt. Does that count as a house?
Oh, yes.
Good.
In your
wherever
housing
you are.
Facilities.
In your hollow tree.
Yeah. Listen, guys, ask your questions any old time. I've got my tool for getting the questions out. It's going to be a little bit experimental.
Yeah.
Right.
Hang in with us.
Have fun.
I have a happy thing to say today because I did meet Anita Moorjani. Now, a couple of years ago was the first I'd heard of Anita Moorjani, but one of my friends actually thought that the word Johnny meant money. She's an immigrant. English was not her first language, and she thought Johnny was just like, it's money, because I kept saying, Anita Moorjani, Anita Moorjani, Anita Moorjani. She thought I was saying I need more money, but Anita Moorjani is in fact an absolutely lovely human being who grew up, I think she grew up in Hong Kong and Singapore. She's of Indian descent. And when she lived a very fear-based life. She had all kinds of religious inputs. Like I think she was raised Catholic, Hindu, and Buddhist all at once somehow. And she sort of just inhaled all the stress coming from each of those religious traditions without like really onboarding the love and happiness part right at first. So she was very phobic and a real people pleaser, and she was desperately afraid of getting cancer. And so she lived this scrupulously like Spartan life where she never ate anything carcinogenic. She never ate anything that touched plastic. She was super organic, the whole thing, because she was afraid of getting cancer. Her father died of cancer. She had a friend who died of cancer. And so what happened when she was 24 years old? She came down with lymphoma, of course. Isn't it ironic? And she fought the disease, and she was young and healthy, so she gave it a run for its money. She for 4 years, she did every kind of treatment: Eastern medicine, Western medicine, meditation, psychic, whatever. Like, I think she did anything that you can possibly do. And it didn't work. The tumors kept getting bigger and spreading all over her body. And pretty soon, well, not pretty soon, in 4 years, she weighed 85 pounds. And she was basically tumors and a head. She couldn't hold up her head. But she was circling the drain. So the doctors put her on life support. so that her brother could get in. I think I've told this story before, but it's more important now because I've met her. So her lungs were filling with fluid. She was in a terminal coma, and she had a near-death experience. She went through, I don't know if she describes going through the tunnel that some people see. Anyway, she saw this brilliant light, and she came to herself in this indescribably magnificent universe, which included the world as she had known it, but was much, much, much more expansive. She said it was like she'd been exploring this beautiful warehouse full of incredible things with a tiny flashlight, just with a little beam, and then suddenly floodlights came on and she could see all this splendor in all directions that she couldn't even describe when she got back. But in the middle of all this, her father comes up to her and says, you need to go back. You're not done. Or I think they gave her a choice, but they said, you really should go back. She didn't want to. I mean, into that kind of misery, the 4 years, she's just, dwindled with cancer. And besides, she said, I can't go back into that body. It's just, it's one big tumor. And her father said, oh, you'll be fine. Okay. So she chose to go back so that she could tell people what was over there. And she woke up, and for years I've been doing this, my comic interpretation of Anita Moorjani waking up as they expect her to die and going, I'll be fine. And they all didn't believe her. So I wasn't going to mention that I'd been doing a comic impression of her, moment of death/life. But of course, Ro was with me and told her, she's like, Marty does this impression of you almost dying. And I was like, no. But Anita is amazing. And she basically just laughed and said, that's about right. She basically opened her eyes and said, I don't need all these tubes. You can take them all out. So she recovered. 3 days later, her tumors were about half the size. 9 days after that, she was cancer-free. And tons of medical records to back her up. So, a lot of people say near-death experiences are just a dying brain and doing its last gasps and whatever. Well, that may be true. I don't know. Haven't done it yet myself. Hope to. But in her case, there was like a massive trove of medical documentation of what she'd gone through and then how fast she recovered. And it was nothing short of a miracle. She asked me to ask her, because I was interviewing her, was this a miracle? And she said yes and no. It was miraculous in that the whole world is miraculous, but it was ordinary in the sense that we can all do this. And I said, well, how do you do that? And she said, you have to live in a state of expanded awareness. And I got to tell you guys, I didn't know what to expect when I met her, but I follow her on Instagram and everything, so I knew she'd be a nice lady. Oh, if you meet this person in person, she is one of those lit up human beings with eyes that seem to radiate light. I mean, she is the bomb. I just have to say I was kind of in awe, and I am not easily awed. I'm actually easily very awed, but not awed. Moving on. So Anita said to me, we should all live in expanded consciousness. And she said, now I don't care. I'll have chocolate ice cream out of a plastic bowl. Drink gin right out of the cat dish. No, she didn't say that. She did say the part about the chocolate ice cream. But she said, your body can take a lot if you're in expanded consciousness, and it won't get sick, and you'll die when you're supposed to. And you can just be super healthy all the time because you're in this expanded consciousness. And she was so joyful and so radiant. And I was like, okay, but for those of us who are not in a state of expanded consciousness, how do we get there from here? And she told me the simplest little recipe. But upon reflection, I saw that it has worked for me a million times and that it pretty much always will. So I thought I'd repeat it to you. It was so brilliant. She said, here's what you do. Start where you are, wherever you are. You can start in anguish. You can start in rage. You can start in terror. Just be whatever you are and allow it. So allow yourself to feel whatever you're feeling. And then the next thing you do is you love and accept the part of you that's feeling whatever you're feeling. So if you're feeling mildly pleasant. You love and accept the part of you that's feeling mildly pleasant. That's not so hard. But if you're in the grip of complete terror, you guys, it still works. It still works when you're in a place of complete terror to say, I am in a place of complete terror. And that's okay. It's okay. I'm going to make space for that. It's okay to say, when you're grieving like crazy, to say, I am so sad. I am so sad. And if you just say the words, that's okay. It's okay. You can feel as sad as you want to. I'm going to sit here and feel as sad as I want to. And I'm going to take some time for that. You can be so angry and say, that's okay. You get to be exactly as angry as you are. There's going to be time for that. There's time for that. There's space for that. And this is one thing I have gotten from meditation. Most days I sat down, I wasn't in a good place. I say wasn't because I haven't meditated for like a week. But I don't get to it as much as I used to, especially when I'm traveling. But there were years when I did it, long periods every day. And that gave me this space to sit that I can slip into now. I was reading a book on altered traits about how meditation can shift your brain. And maybe that's why. But with just a little practice, they showed just with a couple of hours of mindfulness practice, you can come into more harmony with your emotions, whatever they may be. So let yourself feel as bad as you're feeling, but be explicit about it. Like, tell yourself it's okay to feel what you're feeling. Angry, terrified, sad beyond belief. It's all okay. You can feel all those things. There's time for you. There's space for you. So right now, guys, whatever we're feeling, my energy's up because I'm here talking to you guys. It's not as peaceful as I try to be, but it's fine. I can make time and space for that. And if you're not as lucky as I am to be in a place where your life is on a fairly even keel, you may be overwhelmed, you may be discouraged, you may be in despair. It's okay. There's time for it. There's space for it. We're just going to wrap a blanket of acceptance around that. Okay? You don't have to change a thing to be completely accepted and completely loved. And I actually believe that that is the attitude of the divine toward us at all times. So the moment we say it's okay, we line up with that benevolence. And I can feel my body shift as I do that. Because that's the truth. The truth is that we are absolutely acceptable no matter what we're feeling, no matter what we've done, no matter what we think. So you go from wherever you are to acceptance. And from acceptance, if you keep saying it's okay, there's time for you, there's space for you, you don't have to change a thing, there's a bit of peace that arises. So it goes whatever you're feeling now, then acceptance, then peace. Find if there's peace in that space of acceptance. And you'll find a place that's quiet. So you breathe into that, and a little bit of space maybe opens around what you're feeling that is not peace. But you start to feel that the peace gives it a little wiggle room, and that means the peace is bigger. As Mingyur Rinpoche says, you're not the same size and shape as your pain anymore. You're a little bit bigger. From peace, Anita said, you can start to look for gratitude. So not at the beginning, not before acceptance, not before peace, but once you get to peace, you can start saying, like she said, when she was riddled with cancer, her eyes still worked. So she could be grateful that she could see. And that was like, okay, so I can see something beautiful today. There's just a tiny smidgen of, well, that's better than it is bad. I can be grateful that I have a glass of water. Clean water, like how many people around the world don't have a glass of clean water that they can just pick up and drink? It's pretty amazing. Then you can be grateful. I can be grateful I have a computer, for heaven's sake. Holy crap. Like all the knowledge known to man available to me with a few keystrokes. Wow. I'm starting to feel more grateful. Of course, I have a ton to be grateful for, but I remember seeing when Oprah went to Africa and she gave out these backpacks with toys and clothes to these kids, and they followed this little I think she was like 9, this little girl home, and her whole family had died of AIDS. And she opened the backpack, and there was like a clean t-shirt and a teddy bear. And she just kept saying, I'm the luckiest girl in the world. I'm the luckiest girl in the world. It reminded me of an old story from the Middle East about the holy fool Najruddin. Is that it? Yeah, I think that's it. He went out on a trip on the road, and he met a man who was walking along with a bag and this very sad expression. And he said, what's wrong? And the guy said, well, I'm a prince, and I was raised with all the things I could ever want, but my life has no meaning, and I'm going in search of purpose. And I'm really depressed. He was very emo, sort of late teens, that kind of, yeah. So Nasruddin said, oh, is that right? And he grabbed the bag off the prince's shoulder and ran off into the woods with it. And the prince was like, what? Well, Nasruddin sneaked the short way through the woods, got ahead of the prince on the road, and left the bag with all the prince's belongings in the road where the prince could find it. Then he hid behind a rock. So the prince came around the rock, and there was his bag. And he ran to it, and he looked through it, and he was like, yes, yes. And Nasruddin from behind a rock said, well, now you know what it takes for you to be happy. So the point being, everything we already have is something we can look at and appreciate. And the reason we do it is not because they told us to in Sunday school, and a good girl does that, or a good boy. It's because it moves that emotional meter, which starts wherever we are, then it goes to acceptance, then it goes to peace, then gratitude. And there's tons of brain science on this, by the way. Gratitude is like the ultimate happy emotion. I mean, it gets you to happy. So as you start feeling grateful, it doesn't mean that you have to be this manic, cheering person that our culture sees as happy. But what it means is that moments of quiet, sweet feelings start to slip in. Like, have you ever been around a dog or a cat when it just goes, or a cat starts to purr? We have a dog who like quasi purrs. He goes, when he's really, really happy. It's that kind of happiness. We don't have to reach for the stars. We reach for that quiet sweetness that goes through every day. And animals, I think, are almost always in it, and plants are always in it. And we're the only things out of joint. But when we go from where we are to acceptance, to peace, to gratitude, that sweetness starts to come back in, and we may feel ecstasy, or we may just feel quiet joy. Either way, you can get there from here. We can all get there from here. I've done it a little bit in bad times and a lot in good times, and I'm deeply grateful. And now I'm going to ask the notorious badger. She's switched since she ratted me out to Anita Moorjani. She is no longer the gracious badger. No, she is the notorious badger. So come on in.
And thank you to whoever rechristened me on here. I can't remember who you were. I'm sorry.
Let's hear what's going on.
Squeeze in.
Goody.
Well, I want you guys to keep asking questions, but I have a few that have come up. And my favorite one is from Anne-Marie, who just says, sounds so beautiful and simple. Why is this so hard to do? Martha Beck.
Well, because, as Dante said in the Divine Comedy, I just read it, our nature is always going toward happiness, but our culture trains us out of it. So when you're very young, babies who get raised with love are naturally prone to going into states of peace and happiness. That's why we love being around them. But soon they learn from people habits of anxiety, habits of tension, and they also learn shame. They learn to sense that they're not quite good enough, because when a baby is interacting with an adult who's not happy, the baby automatically takes the blame. It's called the just world hypothesis. It's a very strange thing. Anyway, enough to say that very few babies get to like their speaking years without onloading a bunch of shame and anxiety from the adults around them. And that's just because it's a scary, dangerous world. And we are so constructed that we don't focus on what's here and now. We focus on anxiety about what happened in the past and what could happen in the future. And this is the gift, the questionable gift of having the ability to think abstractly in language. So we're the only creature where individuals commit suicide in significant statistical numbers, because no other creature can be so afraid of a hypothetical future that it would rather die than face that hypothetical future. So you ask why we don't do this. Some psychologists say it's language. It's the fact that we can think ahead. It's our capacity for imagination, which we abuse to focus on danger and pain instead of on the present moment, which is usually quite peaceful. And even when it's not peaceful, it's over right away. So there you go. Even the present is now in the past, as Byron Katie says. Yeah, so staying present is a key to doing this as well.
Love it. I love it. Karen asks, will our own benevolence to feelings flow outwardly to others?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You should meet Anita Moorjani.
Anita Moorjani, you say?
Anita Moorjani.
Well, I've got some here in my wallet.
Oh, I mean, you were there. You can't be.
Apparently I was getting in trouble and I didn't even know about it.
You cannot be in the presence of a truly radiant being without catching a little of that yourself,
guys.
And
I was like speechless. I was like, she said something to me and I was just like,
Anita Moorjani. Yeah, you can feel that lift as you go in the room. And I said that to her while I was interviewing her. I said, I can literally feel myself being lifted. And she said, yeah, that's called entrainment. And I was like, I've read about entrainment. It's about brainwaves. It actually is a physics concept. If you take a whole bunch of grandfather clocks and you put them all in a room, their pendulums will be swinging at random. But if you leave them there a couple of days and you come back, you will find that all of the pendulums are swinging in perfect unison. And that is because wave functions entrain other wave functions and bring them into harmony. So when they've done brainwave studies, they've shown that if you just sit in a room with another person and everybody's quiet, all three people, they put three people in a room at a time for this, and all three people's brains would entrain to the calmest person in the room. So not the manic, I'm going to rule the world, but the calmest, most peaceful person in the room. The brain of another person would entrain to it because the brain loves that. That's the healthiest state it can be in. And so it chooses that. And if there's an individual around you who's doing it, it's much easier to get there, which is why I think spiritual teachers are good. But you can do it by yourself too, or with a book. Wow.
It's so interesting how, like, it seems like it should be like similar to a mirror neuron type function, but it's like there's this asymmetry, which is the more peaceful you are, or the more, you have that energetic frequency.
Yeah.
Then everyone else will mirror over to you. Like there's
side of the mirror preferential
is
mirroring. Yeah. And they've actually shown that with babies, that babies too young to speak. If you show them a hand puppet that is helpful to other hand puppets and another hand puppet that is unhelpful, they will almost all choose the helpful puppet. Aww, which shows some say that there's an innate goodness, an innate preference for people who are helping and generous and benevolent. Yeah. We're meant to be happy.
That's so nice. Well, along those lines, I have Elizabeth asking, what are Martha and Rose's favorite day-to-day happinesses now? Do they change with life seasons? Is it important to find new ones?
I think it is. What are yours?
It's funny because I read that and I thought it was just with seasons, and I was like, winter. Let me tell you.
I thought it was seasonings.
Seasoning.
Paprika.
Ooh, so much happy.
No, I do think that things kind of come up and emerge as preferential joy conveyors. Like I switch from book to book. For me, a lot of it is about interacting with like the great literature and the great people that I've known.
Yeah, I think another thing for us is ritual. I think Marty's talked about it on here before, but we have rituals in our days, which I think give us a lot of joy.
Yeah, it's having Adam around with his Down syndrome. I was told people with Down syndrome are very into ritual and into exact timing. And as far as Adam's concerned, it's very true. So at 5 o'clock now because it's winter, we meet. And work stops. And there was a time when Ron and I were working till 6:37 at night. I used to work all day and all night, all the time.
Yes.
But we used to work to 6. And one day Adam took us to task. He sat us down. He said, no, there will be no work after 5. 5 o'clock is wine time. And that's what it will be. And my goodness, if you've got a little person hanging around saying 5 o'clock is wine time, and they are that good in their soul, like they have that much goodness in them, nothing else is worth doing.
No, it's the best.
So yeah, ritual, and Mario Martinez, the psychoneuroimmunologist I was talking about a few weeks hence, he also says that people who live to be well over 100 in a state of health and happiness and sharp cognition, they have ritual throughout the day. So we have morning communion, where we all have our like beverage of choice, and that lasts a whole hour, and we write in our journals and like plan the day, and then there's like sacred writing time. Everything's sacred.
Everything's sacred. That's a good thing. Make everything sacred.
Everything's sacred. Sacred painting time.
Sacred bullet journal time.
Yeah. Sacred lie on the floor and roll about time.
Oh, the most sacred time of them all.
So, yeah.
All right. I have a question here from Alexa, who's having a tough day. And she says,
sorry, honey.
I'm trying so hard to accept my past. That's in the acceptance part of the process. But I feel like I can't stop my brain from judging the fact that I still feel fear. I also feel like if I acknowledge the pain, I will never come out of it. How to comfort myself, especially when peeps in my environment are confirming the judging thoughts to get over it.
All of it can be loved. You can do an end around all of it. You can say, I can't stop thinking about the past. It's okay, honey. It's all right. I'm afraid that if I let the pain in, there will be no end of it. That's okay. That's all right. People around me aren't helping me. They're judging me. Wow, that sounds really painful. You can feel the pain of that, right? It's okay. I used to sit, when I was having a lot more trauma recovery stuff, I used to sit for a full hour every morning. This was before I started meditating a lot, but I would sit for an hour just to let myself feel crappy. Like feel the fear, feel the anger, feel the scar tissue of the mind, and just acknowledge that it's not gone yet. Now, the weird thing is that as you do that, you do come into the present moment. So as you sit down and give yourself permission to feel bad, it is an act of love in the present moment to accept that you don't have to do anything but feel bad. You don't have to change a thing. The moment you say you don't have to change a thing, there's time for you, there's space for you, you have come into an act of love in the present moment. And you look around and go, there actually is. Like right now, Alexa, right now, anyone out there who's hurting, right now, and for the next 5 minutes, there's time and space for you to feel the way you feel. And if you deliberately tell yourself, that's okay, there's time for you, there's space for you, that little bit of your consciousness is aligning with the divine consciousness around you. And you'll find as you do this more and more, and don't expect it to happen instantly, but if you keep doing it, you'll slowly realize that the time and space for you to be exactly as you are is infinite. That the love holding whatever's happening to you, however horrific it might be, that love is infinite, and it is bigger than the pain. The pain has its limits, and the love has none. So it's a difficult path, but it's actually one of the ways to find out how big love really is, to let yourself hurt that much. Our hearts are with you, honey.
I want to finish up with a great question from Marianne Burrows, who says, if focusing on the present moment and staying calm raises our vibration, how do we stay in that space all day without slipping back? Is it by accepting that it's okay to slip back and acknowledging that too?
Yeah. And you will slip back. And you just laugh. You just say, oh, I did it again. You. You make that noise. Oh. And the thing is, it's you can either notice that you made a mistake with judgment and anger and rigidity, or you can notice that you've made a mistake because you're human and you're little. And it's like when a baby's learning to walk and she falls down. It's not like, how dare you? You slipped. How dare you fall down? It's the stain of shame be upon you, child. It's like Adam, it took him a full year to go from 1 step to 2 steps. He would take 1 step and fall down every single time. And then he would laugh and laugh and laugh. One step, two, fall down. Ha, 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 ha. He just thought it was hilarious. And then, you know, after a year of doing that 100 times a day, he finally got into 2 steps. And I watched that and just thought, that's me. That's my teacher right there, because that's how I live. 1 step, fall down. Oh, well. I'm just a baby. We're all just babies. We're just babies.
Yeah.
We're
We're doing
babies.
pretty well, all things considered, you guys.
Yeah. So there's time and there's space for you to be exactly as you are right now. Take 5 minutes from now, or 10, or however many you've got, and just go from wherever you are to accepting wherever you are. See if you can sneak in some peace. Find a little gratitude. Doesn't have to be very big, and drops just the tiniest little drop of sweetness that is happiness. And from that, you have an endless supply.
Oh,
So we love you so much.
Thank you, Martha.
See you next week, and have the most accepting, peaceful, grateful, and joyful week ever, ever, ever.
What she said.
Bye.
Bye.